have you. Yeah, Mr. Kirk Cousins just got another deal from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this deal is on paper. It's 5 years, $172 million. But there is some, nuances to this deal. Basically, this deal is a 1 year guaranteed deal that is worth about $20 million. They have team options for the next couple years after that, so it could be up to $172 million. So that is a lot of money for Kirk Cousins. And if you ever was wondering about this as well, Kirk Cousins has now made $321 million in his 14-year career in the NFL and has 0 rings to prove it or anything like that. But the dude is just a money machine. Guys, going back to the brass tacks of the football situation in here, I think this was personally a fantastic move for the Raiders. Tim, I want to have you start with this one, man. What do you think about this move for the Raiders and on your thoughts on Kirk Cousins making a lot of money again?
Yeah, well, and it's even more money because the guy only shops at Kohl's. And so, his overhead is very, very low.
Exactly.
I agree, Stevie. I think this is a great move for the Raiders, and I'm a lifelong Denver Bronco fan. I don't say nice things about the Raiders unless I absolutely have to, but this was the right move. Him and Fernando Mendoza, who they're obviously going to take, are the same person. Like, they're the same, friendly, religious, shucks, milk drinking guy. And so the fact that Fernando Mendoza is going to come into the league and have himself plus 15 years kind of like taking him under his wing, that is such a great scenario for them to develop their quarterback of the future. This is kind of an old school move too, right? Like 20, 30 years ago, the first round picks would usually sit for a lot of the season. Remember, Aaron Rodgers was on the Packers for a long time before he ever, got a start. This used to be how it was done. And then in the last 10 or 15 years, the first round picks are going right into the deep end. So this is kind of an old school football move, but I think it makes perfect sense because not only do you have, your rookie quarterback, you've got Clint Kubiak, who's a head coach for his first year. There's going to be a lot of figuring out to do for the organization. This is kind of a pillar of stability for them. The Kirk Cousins memes, the jokes, they're out there, they're real, but you know what? He is a rock solid quarterback. He's going to give them the stability, the predictability, the reliability that they need. He's going to be smart. He's going to teach Fernando Mendoza how to read defenses, read NFL defenses, a lot better than if Fernando was on his own with just a quarterback's coach. I think this is such a good setup for them. And you know what? It's more than just Kirk because they invested in a lot of other places in their lineup too. The Raiders got a ton of guys. They got Tyler Linderbaum. They realized that their offensive line was Swiss cheese. Miraculously, they still have Max Crosby. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But they have a much more complete team than they had last year. And I think with all of the question marks, with all the new faces they're introducing, why not get someone who's been there and done that on this is his 5th team or something like that and wins games.
Yeah, and the other good thing as well is you brought up Clint Kubiak being a first-time coach. They worked together back in Minnesota as well. So they're already familiar with each other, their system they want to run. And you nailed it on the head, too, is that Kirk Cousins is the absolute perfect guy to bring in underneath for Fernando Mendoza because they are generally the same type of person. You're not going to have any off-the-field issues or anything like that. And a role model to look up to would be Kirk Cousins in there. And the other thing I think that's great about this deal is that it's team-based, if you will. So it's 5 years. So let's say Mendoza isn't ready for 2 more years. You still have Kirk Cousins, so I believe he's 36 right now. So quarterbacks are playing into their 40s right now. So even if he plays out that entire contract, Mendoza's still going to be cheap. Even if he plays out the entire contract, he's going to be 41 at that point. So I don't foresee that happening. I think Mendoza is probably going to start maybe middle of year 2, possibly year 3, something like that. And it goes back to sometimes these guys, they need that. They need to learn a little bit more. And I think Mendoza is very intelligent and has the will. If you watch that championship game when that last play, it's going to live on forever. That's just type of guy that he is. He has that will, determination. But if you watch also the press conference afterwards, that guy is so polished of exactly what to say. He is the perfect spokesman for your team. Never gonna. I hope nothing changes, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be a problem for the Raiders at all. And it's going to be kind of interesting seeing him in Vegas when he's going to be out there, because he's not that kind of guy. It doesn't seem like yet. But I think this move is absolutely brilliant for the Raiders, and maybe that's the Tom Brady influence finally that they're like, hey, Brady in that same situation. Brady was drafted. They had Drew Bledsoe,
That's right.
So
that's right.
This sounds almost kind of like the same kind of guy in there, So, G-Mike, are you excited for Kirk Cousins making another payday, or what's your thoughts on this one, brother?
Man, shout out to Kirk Cousins and his agent for being the biggest finessers ever, surpassing Ben Simmons, ex-Philadelphia 76er. Because, man, the guy has only won one playoff game. Yes, he has a lot of regular season wins, and I do agree that he is a good quarterback, 100%. I think it's a good idea to bring him in and let Mendoza learn under him. I think that's what is going to be the move. I still think they draft Mendoza. I don't think they trade away from it. But, man, the biggest finesse king in sports ever. Like, the type of game that the agent was spitting in this business table has to be studied, man. Like, I need to talk to this guy because when I get on ESPN or Barstool or whatever, I need him as my agent. Because that guy's going out there and getting him paid. This is the second time in a row that Kirk Cousins gets a big-time contract, man. If you put it in perspective, he's had 2 contracts, put them together, 9 years, about $309 million. Like
321.
The last 2 contracts, this one and the other one?
Yeah, I believe it's 321 is what his career earnings are right now. Yeah.
Dude, like crazy, man. Crazy finesse. But to get away from that, yes, I think that it's a good move for the Raiders. I think they should have paid him less, in my opinion. But whatever, it is what it is. It's going to be a good move for them, for Mendoza to learn under him for sure. I think he's a good winning quarterback. He still has to prove himself in the playoff perspective, but that could be, some players, some athletes, like if you guys have played sports before, you get to a certain level, you can't reach the other threshold. It happens. Not everybody can be the Tom Brady's, the LeBron James, the Michael Jordans, the Otanis and stuff like that. So some people just reach their threshold, but I think this right here is what really brings value for Kirk Cousins, because I think he's very intelligent and he goes out there and he learns. If you watch the Netflix series Quarterback, he was actually in both seasons of that series. Yeah. And the guy is very intelligent. He learns, he studies, like he knows what's going on out there on the field. There's times that he'll throw 5-6 touchdowns a game with 400 yards, and then there's other times he'll only throw one with like 2 picks. Obviously, the game of football is so fast that every game is different. Any given Sunday, like it's never going to be the same thing. But dude, shout out to him for getting his money. Shout out to his agent. That guy needs to get paid. I don't know what the percentage is there, but Kirk, you need to give him a big percentage on that. And then the Raiders, they're doing good moves, man. Like you guys mentioned, they brought in some players that are going to help change the team. They have a lot of draft picks, which is really going to help them down the line. And I agree with Tim. The only thing that they really need to work on is that offensive line, because that is going to be scary for Mendoza and Kirk, and even Alshon Jeffrey, because, man, like, there's only so much that you could put on his body. Like, y'all need to protect all 3 of them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. Is that I think the Kirk Cousins coming in there as well as now. I mean, Geno Smith was a shell of himself what he was in Seattle. Seattle, he was actually pretty good. When he went to the Raiders, it just didn't look the same. I don't know if that was that the Chip Kelly system didn't work for him. If Pete Carroll, I really thought the Pete Carroll thing was going to work out well. It just didn't work out that well. I don't think the team was very good either. So that's tough to do whenever you don't have that big of a team. But I think the Kirk Cousins going there is going to help Bowers. It's going to help Genty. It's going to help their players develop, because now they're going to have a good still throwing quarterback, and that's been there, done that, and seen a lot of things. And not the fact that Geno Smith hasn't, but I think with adding that Linderbaum, like you're saying, that's going to add that line a little bit better. But I think having Kirk Cousins there, who can still sling it pretty well, is going to do wonders for all these guys to be able to learn from and to work around and stuff. So I personally think it's a great move for the Raiders.
I think it's also kind of a smart admission on their part of being realistic that it's a really tough division, and they're not just going to be, competing for it right away. So why not give Mendoza a little bit longer of a horizon to work with rather than throw him in there and say you need to win games right now? I mean, that's such a brutal division. The AFC as a whole is pretty loaded, so it kind of takes some of the pressure off of we have to win right now and sets a more realistic expectation of maybe we'll win more games a couple years down the line. But Stevie, you brought it up. Can we just acknowledge how funny it is? This is objectively the funniest pick for Vegas quarterbacks. Freaking Cousins and Mendoza. I can only picture like the team dinners, you know, at the Bellagio or something, everyone getting $30,000 bottles of wine. And then you got Cousins and Mendoza on their end of the table drinking milk or something.
Can I get tapped? Can I get tapped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is definitely interesting for sure.
Yeah, bizarre fit maybe culturally, but football wise, pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they're paying Kirk Cousins to pretty much get beat up behind that offensive line and let Mendoza lift some weights. He's a little bit smaller, I think, in which it's just going to take some time. He'll bulk up, but I think that he's eventually going to be really good. I have a lot of faith in Mendoza. I just like his presence and the way it seems like he's processes the field, and he seems like a true winner and a guy that wants to try and work hard. And he doesn't seem like someone that's scared to work hard either. So I think he's going to be a good pick.
Cuban,
clutch,
baby.
Man.
Cuban, baby.
Yeah, that's right. He was real clutch. I kept waiting for Mendoza and Indiana as a whole to kind of fall back down to earth all last year through the regular season and the playoff, and they just never did it. So he does seem to rise to the occasion pretty well. But I think that extra time, that kind of longer leash they're giving him is probably the right move in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.